Michael Menictus, I'm the event chairman for this evening. Brian Garrett is the CEO of the Community Bank of the Bay, based in Oakland on Broadway, and is opening branches in San Jose and Danville.
Thanks, Michael, and Happy New Year to everyone, and I hope 2010 is one heck of a lot better. I've been in community banking since 1979. I co-founded Bank of Walnut Creek, and ever since then, I just love banking the small customers and the small companies that make up the communities in Main Street, as we call it. This contagion that's happened all around us, you've seen it, and it's subprime, everybody's pointing fingers. The community banks had nothing to do with that. It was the major banks, the big banks, the investment banks, and I don't know if you've heard the term shadow banks, but a lot of the shadow banks, and they were primarily, and I'll give you a definition, the shadow banking were the banks that weren't the banks. They were the Goldman Sachs, the Merrill Lynch's, the investment the bankers like that, and also the mortgage bankers. And they were not regulated. They were the prime causes in this subprime meltdown. They didn't have the regulations that we did. They didn't have to meet the criteria we did. CIT, you've all heard about CIT. Well, they were a prime lender to the maybe the bank or the customers that couldn't qualify for bank debt. They financed a lot of those. That's not to say it's bad, but I'm just saying they weren't a bank until the world came to a stop in 2009. Then they raised their hand and said, I want to be a bank too. So they got the TARP funds. Today, President Obama said, no more investment banking, no more commercial banking by the same entity. Now, that was in 1932 and 33, that was the Glass-Steagall Act. So we've reinstituted the Glass-Steagall Act. So for all those big investment banks that raised their hands and said, give me TARP funds, I want to be a bank, now their major source of income, which is investment banking, they can't do it anymore. The Wells Fargos that had hedge funds, what are they going to do? I mean, it's a tectonic change that happened today. Now, this is an executive order. Whether it all goes through or not, we don't know. Why are community banks like mine, John, so important? Why is too big to fail a major issue? If they break up the major banks, they say, Citicorp, you're going to be broken into pieces. Well, what do you think the big bank in France or the big bank in Japan is going to do? They're going to come over and buy those pieces. They're the only ones that are big enough to buy them. Well, now we're going to have big banks in other countries. They're going to be too big to fail. And those other countries are going to go through their cycles. So this isn't something that we can be isolated and say it's only our problem. Yes, we caused the problem that went in a contagion and went worldwide. But now, if we simply break up Citicorp and we break up B of A, we break up Wells Fargo, is that a solution? I can't answer. When will the economy pick up? It's three letters, J-O-B. When the jobs return, when people feel like they have a job, they might be employed now, but is it for tomorrow? Is it for a year from now? Or they're unemployed. I mean, it's just an equation of jobs, and that's simply that. Availability of credit to consumers. We are expanding. I have increased my loans by 30% in the last 9 months. We're loaning money, despite what you read in the front page of the Chronicle today.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome John Protopappas.
Greeks love the real estate business. I don't know what it is, but I know when I was living in Greece as a kid, my yaya used to say, "Πρέπει να χτίσεις πολυκατοικίες όταν μεγαλώσεις." Okay? For those of you non-Greeks, which I know there are a few, that means you got to build apartment buildings when you grow up. Okay, and she used to love apartment buildings, and I don't know why, but I think it's because inherently what we want is we want to achieve some sort of financial security, and we want to do it through the basics. We want to do it through thrift, because we're not asking to be given anything. We want to do it through savings. We want to do it through being a low-cost provider and providing a service. And if you have multiple units, in a building, that typically is a lot safer than if you have, let's say, one tenant in a building that maybe could go out of business. So that's why I got excited about the apartment business early on. Does anyone have an idea of what the average length of a business cycle has been in the United States since the mid-1800s? Any ideas?
16 years.
All right, it's 17 years. 7 years to go from the bottom to the top. But then another roughly 10 years to go back down and wallow around for years and years and years, and then come back up. So if you look it up, the average length has been 17 years. And it's pretty fascinating, because if you think back 17 years ago, where were we? 1993. I remember calling Dimitri in the early 90s, and I said, Dimitri, there's this building I want to buy in downtown Oakland. And he said, okay, what is it? I said, it's the Tribune Tower. And this was now 1992, and the loan on the Tribune Tower was $3.8 million. And the bank that was foreclosing on it, Topa Thrift and Loan, which is long out of business, wanted $2.8 million. So they were willing to take $1 million less than what the loan was. That's how bad things were. So I told him, I want to buy this building, because I want to convert it to lofts. He said, okay, go for it, good luck. So I slowly watched the market slide from the early 90s through 1990, mid-90s. So it went 2.8 million, and then it went into escrow at 2.2 million. It stayed in escrow for a year, it fell out of escrow, went back in escrow at 1.8 million. It sat in escrow for about 6 or 7 months. Then the day after the purchaser was going to buy it, it fell out of escrow again. He just walked away. And now it was back on the market, and the bank didn't know what to do. Well, here we were, this was 1995. Now, if those of you remember what was going on, we were going through a horrendous period in the real estate business. Well, there was a thing that occurred that I thought was pretty important during that period. There was this company called Netscape. Netscape went public, if you recall, April of 1995. So there was this brand new industry called the internet that was created. And we could all feel it. Clearly, the market was rising. Yet, the Tribune Tower was vacant and couldn't sell in downtown Oakland. We ended up buying it in November of 1995 for $300,000. So the market was still going down in 1995. We bought it for $2 a square foot. Okay. Now, I contend, we're seeing those types of opportunities today. And in fact, I believe they will continue for the next couple of years for many of the reasons that Brian has suggested. And that is that who's determining value today? How do you determine value today? I mean, most of us are looking at a piece of property going, wow, that's a great deal. But it might go down further. So there's this huge fear. Well, because of that, that's when guys like me that are sometimes in denial will go out and buy. And I sort of kid about that, but this is the time to buy. This is when the greatest opportunities are available in the business today. What you want to position yourself today is you want to put yourself in a position where today you're buying. 5, 6, 7, 10 years from now you're selling. I know it's hard to do sometimes, but when you just look at the basic cycles, that's one way to approach it, and the work becomes so much easier when you can ride the